welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, it's so great to have you. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. Well, we're going to highlight the Bushnell Center for the Performing Arts, otherwise known as the Bushnell, which you probably have heard of or have gone to, so you might enjoy this conversation, which I think you will. And I have the pleasure of having two guests with me via Zoom. I have Yolande Spears, the Senior Vice President of Education and Chief Community Impact Officer, and I have Kristen Davis, the Senior Director of Education, Talent, and Business. And ladies, I want to thank you both so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having us.
It's good to see you.
Yolande, why don't we start with you, please? As I mentioned before we started taping, I like to introduce the guest to the viewer. So why don't you take us back into your background? Let us get to know you.
Oh my goodness, we don't have enough time for that, so I'll make it short as much as I can. So, yes, I am a former theater major who wanted to teach theater in school, and I didn't have the opportunity to do that. So I spent 18 years in the private sector in the insurance industry, and I had the opportunity to join the Bushnell in 1992 when they had done a needs and resources study to find out how, as a cultural center, that we could actually reconnect to community in a very different way. And so as a result of that, the Bushnell allowed me the opportunity to start the first arts and education program that's there. And it has four major components that we continue to do today, which is access and enrichment. That allows us to still bring kids to see shows at the Bushnell. We started our art education with our focus being on literacy and being able to get those children in schools that didn't have the opportunity for arts to be able to do that. We have talent development, we do community engagement, and a number of other things. So it's been a wonderful few decades of me being at the Bushnell, and I am just very lucky to be able to still be there.
Now, you mentioned that you were a theater major. Did you think growing up that you were going to be a performer? Is that why you pursued it?
No, it's something that I really enjoyed in college, and I've always wanted to teach. So I didn't think of myself as going into the industry on the performer side, but more or less in the education realm. And
then how did you find the Bushnell?
Well, I had been, as I said, in the private sector side for quite some time, and I was transferred from San Diego back to Hartford, Connecticut with the Aetna. And during that time, there was a lot of reorganizations happening in the various corporations. And so when I decided to leave the Aetna, I got in touch with the Arts Council and I asked what's happening in the corporate, in the private sector, in the cultural area. And she happened to tell me that, well, the Bushnell is trying to start an arts education department, and that's what we are aware of right now. So I got in my car, and during that time frame, you went to the location, picked up a paper application, I filled it out and returned it. I had a couple of interviews, and I was given the opportunity to start in this amazing organization, and I've never looked back since.
Okay, Kristen, let's talk to you for a little bit. Why don't you tell us about yourself? Introduce yourself to the viewer.
Well, as you said, my name is Kristen Davis, and I came to the Bushnell a little over 13 years ago now. I came in with a background both in education. I was formerly a preschool director and a second grade teacher, as well as with a strong background in event planning. And so prior to joining the education team more than 4 years ago now, I worked in other sectors of the organization. I worked in our front of house administrative department, and I also worked in the events department as a manager prior to joining education. The past 4.5 years being in education has allowed me to kind of bring all of those experiences and kind of place them into one. As Yolande mentioned, you know, the initiatives that we undertake each year are too numerous to mention, but they're all more than adventurous, very fulfilling and very rewarding experiences.
Can you tell us, Yolande, about, Kristen, about the Bushnell itself, the building, the property, how long it's been around? Are you aware of that information?
Yes, the Bushnell was erected in 1930. And so in just under 5 years now, about 4.5 more years, we're going to celebrate our 100th anniversary. And that is the Mortensen side of the building. So the Mortensen side is if you come to a show, the side of the building that is directly located on Capitol Avenue, the original side. The Mortensen Theater is the larger of the two theaters that seats just under 3,000 individuals. And so that whole side of the building was erected back in 1930. And then just after 9/11, the Belding side of the building joined in. And so that's where our Belding Theater came into existence, which houses just over 900 seats. It also encompasses the Auto Reno Great Hall, our Belding lobby spaces, and yeah.
Okay. Yolande, people will think the Bushnell is just performance, let's go there and see a show, but you're talking, both of you, about education. Tell us when that kicked in to be a big part of the organization.
So, since Kristen gave a little bit of the history of the facility, I wanted the viewers to know that when the Bushnell created its 1919 charter, it mentioned education. It talks about education. So I always say that education has been a part of the DNA of the organization since its very beginning. And so, as I mentioned before, it's standard for performing arts centers to have theaters where kids get off those school buses. We love having them. They come in to see the shows that are on stage. But the Bushnell as a cultural center took a big leap and led a lot of the industry in the early 1990s, where it decided to invest its revenue and invest its donations into the community. And so we hire artists, we are a jobs creator, we have several artists of all different kinds of backgrounds. They go into schools and give children the opportunities to turn that light on, to bring the arts out of them, which oftentimes in a lot of schools, and especially in urban settings, they often don't have that opportunity. So we have puppetry, we have visual arts, we have dance, yoga, healthy eating, and a number of different kinds of ways that we can connect to curriculum, we can connect to what teachers are teaching to their students, and we can connect to what's of interest to those individual children that often just don't have the opportunity to have the arts in their lives. And that's what we've been doing now for several decades.
I think my question would be to the audience listening about the Bushnell, but you're, I believe, in the Hartford area. Can other children from the part of the rest of Connecticut or New York or any other place come and participate in your programs?
Absolutely. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And in fact, even though a lot of our programming is happening in schools in the greater Hartford area, we've done work as far as New Haven. We're in also work in Torrington now, and we've done Plainville. We've been all over the state based on the need and what makes sense for us as well. But I'm going to turn it over to Kristen for a second so that she can talk a little bit about some of the programming that we're doing on the talent development side, and specifically a new program starting this fall that people from the region and or the state can participate if they would like.
Kristen, go ahead, please.
Sure, thank you, Yolande. And the question initially was, whether or not children and families could participate who live in, other sectors of the state and as well as out of state. As we speak, at this time, we launched a new program called Artivity at the Bushnell. And that is creative arts, hands-on learning, creative arts workshops for children between the ages of 7 to 14 years. We launched it in the spring of this year during spring break. And then it has been running for almost 3 weeks now. It'll conclude this coming Friday from 9 to 12:15 every day. And as you mentioned about the out-of-state kids, and that what made me think of it. So actually this week as we speak, we have 3 students who live in New York, and they are visiting their grandparents for the week. Or maybe 2 weeks here in the summer, and they were signed up for the program. So they live out of state, but they are joining us. So that is very commonplace. our children's theater, that's an opportunity again for, schools from any part of the region to come. And we do get that. We get schools from all over that come and partake of our children's theater programming that we offer every year. Just as we have a Broadway season, we have a children's theater season, and we at the education department are responsible for putting that programming together. This year, we're very proud that we are going to be presenting 9 different programs beginning in October and running through May of next year. We have a couple of shows that will run in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month in October. Pinkalicious, the all-time favorite, girl who ate too many pink cupcakes, will be running in our theater in October. We also will be paying respect to the Thanksgiving season with 2 performances. One is called Maddie's Fridge, and that's a very thoughtful and sincere and age-appropriate look at food insecurity. And then an all-time classic, Stone Soup. And our season will continue paying tribute to African American Heritage Month in February with Hero the Boy from Troy. That's the story of a young Congressman John Lewis and his journey to greatness, followed by Sean Booth and the Unauthorized Biography series. And in March, we will celebrate Women's History Month with a show called We Can Do It. It's a celebration of women's history and historical female icons. And then we'll wrap up our season with an all-time classic, Cinderella and Jack and the Beanstalk. So we're really looking forward to our season. And again, it is well attended by schools from all regions throughout the state.
Sounds wonderful, but let's hold that thought and take a break. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You're tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Yes, here.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and it's always so great to have you. I hope you're enjoying the show. We continue to talk about the Bushnell. And Kristen, you were talking about your calendar of events. My question would be, who plans the calendar? You were talking up until March. That's going into 2026. Who gets involved with planning what happens?
So we all do as a department. Historically, again, the education department is responsible for securing shows for our children's theater and compiling that lineup for the school season. And in addition to that, many of the other initiatives that we undertake each year, we have a small but mighty team that works under Yolande, myself included, at the Bushnell. And so we are personally responsible, our small but mighty team, we are personally responsible for planning, executing, post-event follow-up, you name it, we do it.
Yolande, my question is about the website. Bushnell.org/education is what I was told. What would the viewer find when they visit the website?
Oh my goodness. They will find quite a lot. There will be, there's several tabs for the viewer to go take a look at that will include a lot of the programming that we do. As I mentioned, there's so much programming such as our Partners Program. That's our signature arts education program where we serve 22 schools. We are serving close to 21,000 students every year. We have about 28 master teaching artists that go into the schools to work with us. So you'll have that information. There's video there for them to see us being live in the classroom as well as in the schools. There's our talent development programs that are there, Jazzitions, which is our instrumental programming that is at a school in Hartford where young people learn to play jazz. And our Vocal Fellows program, our Ensign Darling Vocal Fellows, that's our high school program for the very talented vocalists that come from around the state. They're usually sophomore, juniors, and seniors that are in that program. They get vocal lessons, they get vocal coaching, and they also have master classes with industry experts throughout the year. And then there's a wonderful concert that normally happens in May. There's programming there that will talk about professional development for teachers. We often will do that for art and music teachers every year that will want to know and understand how they can take the arts and connect it to their curriculum. So we do that. There's the William A. Yondo Awards. That is a program that we have where we honor educators each year. There's information on that. Children's Theater, as Kristen mentioned, the lineup is on the website as well as our summer programming. So we have Artivity on there, and we have the Bushnell Performing Arts Scholars, which is being launched this fall. And that's our musical theater component and piece of the talent development that we often do. So there's a lot of information on the website for people to get engaged with, and I hope that they will go and visit.
Well, my goodness, it sounds amazing. And I think I mentioned it earlier. My thought, and probably many of the viewers, is the Bushnell is just a performing arts center where you can see a fabulous play, but there's such an education component that I don't think that they're aware of. When did it become so important? You're mentioning the charter. Was it always going to be a part of the Bushnell's plan to be able to do both?
Yes, well, Dotha, who was the daughter of Horace Bushnell, it was her dream to build something that would memorialize her father. And so when she built the initial building, as I mentioned in the 1919 charter, education was a part of that language. But during that time frame, what was considered education would be to bring children to the Bushnell to have the experience of a beautiful orchestra or to see a play. So that was the standard way in which performing arts centers actually engaged with families and community. It was in 1992 and 93 that the Bushnell took a leap forward as a leader and moved forward with creating an arts in education program that moved us out of the building and went out into community. So we went out into the community to connect directly to schools, to be engaged with parents, to be engaged with teachers. So that's when it really became what we did. And we've won several awards from the National Endowment for the Arts, the U.S. Department of Education, the State Department of Education. We were recognized in a beautiful report from the Dana Foundation as one of the 11 leaders in the country to do arts and education. And so it started from that point, we took a new direction in the early 90s and had continued that since. And we are going to have a lot more coming up as we move toward that 100th anniversary. So everyone stay tuned.
Speaking of the 100th anniversary, do you have events that are planned? Is anything open to the public?
Well, there is an education committee that is being led by our marketing department. And with that, there is a team of people that are a part of that. So we're all looking at all the different ways that we can and continue to enhance what we've done in terms of our history, as well as where we're going in the future. So I will leave it at that for now to let you know there will be a lot more programming on stage. There'll be a lot more content creation of original works that the Bushnell will continue to want to do. We're looking at the possibility of a beautiful, wonderful arts education conference, a national education conference, to showcase some of the work that's done. More talent development will be going, as we'll be looking at how we plan that for those students that want to be engaged with backstage, that will learn how things happen with our crew. There will be opportunities for children that don't want to perform, but they want to understand the business and how the Bushnell works. And so we're talking about an arts administration program, media arts, some of the things that you're doing right now with TV and film. All those things are a part of our future, and we are looking forward to being the new Bushnell that will last another 100 years.
And Kristen, have you encountered in your work the relationship that the Bushnell and the education community has with the city of Hartford? How is the relationship with everything outside of the building?
Oh, it's quite strong. In fact, we started in our program in 3 distinctive districts, Hartford, West Hartford, and Bloomfield. And then we expanded throughout the state in Plainville and Torrington, as I mentioned before. We're doing work there with the Warner Theater and a wonderful collaboration there as well. But with the city of Hartford, we sit on the mayor's culture and arts project that he's doing. We're on that committee, and we just met with leaders of the Hartford Public Schools this week, talking about bringing them in. We have 8 new leaders coming in fact, this Thursday, to meet with us to talk about the programming for Hartford Public Schools, now that it has a new leader as well. So we're very happy that the mayor is a mayor that not only is looking at the arts as a benefit to the city, but is also putting opportunity as well as resources into how we can make that continue to work for all of its residents.
And Kristen, have you thought at all in your area about the future of your department? What do the next few years look like? Any agenda that you folks would like to be able to achieve?
Certainly to continue to grow the initiatives that we have currently underway that have proven successful for a number of years now. And to continue to expand upon those, our school-based learning, our partnerships with area schools and community organizations. Yolande mentioned our Bushnell Performing Arts Scholars Program. That's a first venture for us as an education department and as an organization. So we certainly look forward. It's off to a roaring start. We'll be auditioning more than 120 children from across the state between the ages of 7 and 14 this coming fall. So we're looking to making that an annual part of our working agenda, and programs like our Artivity program, which again give opportunities for the public to come into the building and to experience what we have to offer. And just as you said, it is definitely, the Bushnell is certainly more than a place to come and enjoy a Broadway performance, certainly to partake of all of the educational resources and arts education resources that we have to offer, both inside the building as well as out in the community. And also it's a place to come and enjoy and to, celebrate with your family and friends. It's also a secret, although we would prefer that it is not a secret, that we also host private events of all kinds. So we have celebrations from everything from weddings to mitzvahs to anniversary parties, birthday parties. The Bushnell is a place for many things.
Kristen, you had just mentioned auditions, and I know that I have people of all ages and young people that watch the program as well as parents. How can somebody audition for a play or a function that's happening there? Do you have open auditions for students or young people throughout the state?
We do. At present, our auditions registration is closed. We are at capacity. However, we will be reopening it in early spring of next year of 2026 for the next season of the Bushnell Performing Arts Scholars. So it's definitely something that folks should stay tuned in. Information will be on our website. You mentioned earlier our education tab on the website. So if you were to go to that and look under Bushnell Performing Arts Scholars, you would be able to get information about the upcoming season.
And Yolande, have other theaters reached out to you? It sounds as if you folks are just amazing, have everything put together there that would be a leader in your industry. Have other theaters reached out to you to help with their education department?
Yes, that's a great question. When we first started in the 1993, 94, 95, in that era, we were working with several theaters that were just opening oftentimes. So we've done work with Blumenthal, the Kimmel Center in Philadelphia, NJPAC in New Jersey, and several other theaters around the country that have asked us, including the Toronto Conservatory of Music, that wanted to know how we established our arts education program and what we did. So we were happy to be in collaboration with them as well.
Okay, ladies, we are slowly starting to run out of time. Any closing thoughts for the viewers? Yolande, anything you'd like to tell them?
I would like to tell them that, yes, the Bushnell is an amazing theater approaching 100 years, but we also are more than just that venue, which is what you've been talking about. We do arts education, we do community engagement, we work with other theaters, we host private events, we have done theater management, we've done content creation. People don't know often that the Bushnell created a company through our president, David Fay, who's very entrepreneurial, and he wants his staff to be entrepreneurial, to look for new opportunities to engage in the community in a broad sense in many ways, to the extent that David created a company with others where we actually won a Tony Award for American in Paris. We did Addams Family on Broadway. So yes, we are a Broadway leader in arts education, theater management, and so many other areas. So stay tuned. As I said, we're approaching 100. We're happy to be approaching 100, and there will be a lot more for the public to be able to see and engage with us in. And we're just grateful that people recognize us as a theater here in the region that is worth coming to visit. And we thank everyone for their patronage.
Well, I want to thank both of you ladies for being here. We have run out of time, so all the very best, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
And I'm Deborah Gilbert. You tuned into Arts and Entertainment. In case you need to reach me, I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Well, I hope you have a super day today, and I hope that you've really enjoyed the show. Wasn't it interesting? Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.